What's happening, YouTube? Okay, today we're going to install the auxiliary switches down here in this panel. I picked up this kit from 4th Gen Ram Electronics, and just looking over the paperwork and the stuff that came in the kit, it seems to be pretty solid stuff. So the auxiliary switch panel that you get whenever you order from 4th Gen is an OEM part, and then the rest of the wiring and everything is something that he makes or he outsources to be made. And like I said, the quality of the material is outstanding. So I'm not going to force you to sit here and watch the entire process of how to do it, but I'm going to show you a few things that I haven't seen in some other videos, and one of them is how to replace some of these switches right here in case you have a manual and you don't have certain things in this panel, or your vehicle didn't come equipped with some things, or it did come equipped with certain things but you can't find this panel with the same stuff. Basically what I'm saying is you can go to a junkyard, you can pull this panel out even if it has more or less switches than your current one, and you can swap these over, and I'll show you how to do that coming up. Second thing I'm going to show you, or it'll be the first thing I show you in this part, is how to get this dash bezel off. There's a lot of people that do multiple different things. This is the way I do it. It seems to be easier for me, and I don't feel like I'm going to break it like what you see in some of the other videos. So first thing, you've got to pull this little plastic piece out that's up here, and then there's two T20 Torx screws inside of there. Once you pull those out, then all this is actually loose, and this is my preferred method. I use the trim removal tool. I come in on the side, I slide it up underneath it, and I twist. Once I do that, then this panel just comes right out, just like so. Now be mindful that if you have the power inverter plug right here, there's probably going to be another plug or another screw inside of this hole somewhere, so just keep in mind on that. From there, you're going to come into the back side, you're going to disconnect everything, and then pull your old switch panel out. And once I get that out, I'll show you the steps of doing the swap over. Alright, I hope you guys can see this. So the first step in the swap over process is if you have the trailer brake assembly in here, you've got to swap it over. Just a couple little plastic clips and everything, and this will come out and then it'll pop in on this side. But this is what I'm going to show you. Mine looks a little different down here because I've already taken it apart to see how it comes apart and to figure out what I need to do. But the panel that came with a tow haul switch. Since I have a manual transmission, I don't need it. And since I do not have any park assist features in my truck, I don't need that. So I'm going to end up pulling that out, and I'm going to replace it with these two blanks that are off of my old panel. One thing that I can say that has been super cool about 4th Gen is I've had a few questions about doing some things, and they hit me right back and gave me the information that I needed. So this part here, what I did, and I'll show you the tools that I used to do it. It's nothing fancy at all. And I'll show you how to remove this. Okay, so starting is I used a silver Sharpie, so that way I could orient my, I hope you can see this, my panel, so that way I wouldn't forget. So I made a little mark here, and then also a mark right there, so that way I could see what side's the top. Then I pulled it apart, and I did that by, you can see these little plastic tabs that are in here. So I took a screwdriver. Let me grab my other screwdriver. Okay, so a flat tip screwdriver. What I did is I gently placed it in between the gap there, and then kind of pulled up just a little bit. Oh, it started coming just a little bit until it released that little piece. And I did that on one side. I'll go ahead and mark it so that way I don't mess myself up. Just a little dot, a little dot. Then, once you get that out, this little circuit board comes out just like that. Once you get the circuit board out, then there's a rubber piece on the inside here, and once again I'm going to mark it, And I don't think it really matters too much because I think it'll only go one way back together. But just for me, I like to mark everything so that way I don't mess anything up. Then you take this little rubber mat and it comes out just like that. Then once you get here, you want to make sure that you're going for the same switch. So I know that I'm going for this one right here. On the back side here, there are holes right here and here. And you get a real small screwdriver and you slide it in there. And once you push it, it'll pop these little tabs right here. So you're sliding the screwdriver in just like that, and you're prying it over and it'll release, and it'll pry it over and it'll release. And then once you do that, it'll pop out all together, and then so will this centerpiece. So I haven't taken a blank one out, so let's see how it comes out. I hate my neighbor. Just apply a little bit of pressure. Oh, I guess it'd help if I was on the right one, huh? What I'm doing is I'm going to the outside edge and kind of prying in. Oh, I'm sorry. You go from the center of the switch, that side, in like that, and then pry away from the switch. Once you do that, that guy slides right off. Okay, so that's the blank, remember. And then I'm going to take that blank and I'm going to put it in on my new panel, so that way I'll have that blank. And it just pushes right down and clips in. Once you hear it kind of clip a couple times, then you're good to go. To go with the old one back in, you take this centerpiece here. And what I did is I just looked on the back side, and you can see how this hole that's in the center, you can see which way it's shaped. So I'm going to slide it in from this side, make sure that all the grooves are in there, and then come in with the tow haul switch and make sure it's oriented the correct direction and push and click. And that's all there is to it to getting these switches off. So if you're at a junkyard and you find one of these switch panels that has all the buttons that you want, but it doesn't have some of the stuff up here that you do want, you can swap these off and put them on your new panel. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this park assist switch off and put my blank on there because I don't need it. I don't have all that fancy stuff. And then we'll come back and I'll show you the wiring for the rest of the stuff. Okay, so I got the switches switched over. It probably took me 5 minutes to do both of them, if that. And then to get your brake controller out, you're going to pry up on this guy right here just a little bit, and the brake controller actually comes out this direction through the front. At first I thought it came out from the back. So now that I got that swapped over, we're going to go ahead and lay it back down face first. And remember my orientation mark. I'm going to find my orientation mark right there. I'm going to put this guy back inside, just like that. Then I'm going to take my panel again, and be careful because it is loose in there, just like that. So you want to set it in the correct orientation. Like I said, it's got a little tab, so it'll only go one way, but I'm one of those people that I prefer to be super careful and make marks just in case you know, something is different whenever I take it apart. Once you get it there, just make sure that all your buttons actually move freely, the ones that are supposed to. And the ones that don't, the blanks, they don't move, which is what I wanted. Now we're going to go reinstall this inside the cab. Simple as putting the 4 Phillips screws back in. Then once you get that in, you need to go from the engine compartment side through the firewall up into the dash with this long cord right here, and the rest of this guy will stay in the engine compartment. And this is the kind of work that I'm talking about. The quality of the work is this fuse box that comes with the kit. It comes pre-labeled with everything, so it shows you exactly where each relay goes. There's no fuses to make the final connection. You'll have to install those whenever you get it done, but your relays are in there, and then the other end where you can plug in is all labeled clearly, and it comes with the corresponding plugs for these here. And then the final 2 plugs here go to the battery that's on the in the engine compartment. And we'll go over that real quick. Once I get everything installed, I'll show you what it looks like. Like I said, I'm not going to go in super depth because it's pretty self-explanatory, the routing and everything. It's not that difficult, guys. One thing that I will say is I found a place that I'm going to mount this guy inside the engine compartment, and I think it'll be tucked up nice and neat and out of the way, and it'll look just slightly better. Because I have a few things inside my dash panel that were not in the instructions. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll show you what it looks like whenever we get there. So I don't know how much you can see from there, but I went ahead and took that kick panel off down there below the driver's steering wheel, or driver's steering wheel, like there's one on the passenger side, below the steering wheel. And the reason is it gives you a little bit more access to where you can see where to run the cable. On the inside, or the firewall, there's a rubber grommet that you're going to have to make a slice in to be able to push this plug wire through. And the reason why there are 2 plugs is because, well, it's going to tie into the factory harness. And so the way that this works is, so you've got the gray plug here, which is now going to go to the switch panel that we just installed, and then you've got the factory one that came on the wiring harness. So what you're going to do is you'll plug it up just like that. Make sure that you hear it click. Once you hear it click, now this will plug into here. And we're not going to do that just yet because I'm going to go ahead and wire everything up, or not wire everything up, but I'm going to go ahead and roll this excess wire up and zip tie it along the way. But once you get it plugged up here, just like that, and I hope you can see that, I believe you can, factory wiring, new plug, and then this is going to go to your new switch. Once you do that, tie everything up, plug it in here, put this panel back on, zip tie your wires up all the way into the engine compartment, and then I'll show you what it looks like on the inside of the engine compartment. Alright, so on the outside at the firewall, I'm going to try and hold this steady. I've got the box mounted here, and I've got the wires run up, and I've just got them kind of hung up or zip tied right here on the side. For now, I don't plan on doing anything with them this weekend. Got some other things to do. So I'll mess with that later and hook up my stuff to it. When the switch is activated, this is just a power wire. All you'll have to do is run the power to your accessory, whatever you run in, lights, snowplow, etc., whatever it is, and then you'll just ground that somewhere on the vehicle, or you can run it straight to the battery. Here's the cover that goes on here. I'll put that on in just a second, and then I've got the two power wires going right here. I'm probably going to move it back over here, and I'll explain that here in a second. So I'm going to put this cover back on. It'll go like that, and it'll clip down, and then I'll come back to you here in just a second, and we'll talk about the inside. Coming in here on the inside, you can see that the auxiliary switch 1 is on, auxiliary 2 comes on and off. These 2 can now be powered without the key on. 3, 4, and 5 will need the key on. However, if you get the program Alpha OBD and the little Bluetooth connector that goes into your OBD2 port, this guy right here, and hook it up, you can go in and tell the computer that you've got this, and to where you'll be able to go into the EVIC and change it and make them all momentary switches, on-off switch, etc., etc., etc. So I've got a little secret to tell you guys, and I'm going to go ahead and tell them myself for one reason. And the reason is 4th Gen Ram Electronics. These guys, Ben, he's the one that I've been talking to, is freaking awesome. So let me tell you what I did. So whenever I showed you how to swap these switches over earlier, I made a mistake, and I didn't know what I did until just a few minutes ago. So we got everything installed, tried to turn it on, and none of the auxiliary switches were working. So I did as much testing as I could before I emailed Ben and was like, hey man, I don't know what's going on, this is the situation, blah 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 blah, explained it all. He emails back in about 15 minutes and gives me a couple other suggestions, asks a couple questions. I'm like, man, I already tried this, already did that, etc., etc. Sent him another email, sent him a short little video showing what had happened, and he replies back, I don't know, 20-30 minutes later, it looks like you just got a bad switch, I don't know what's going on, I'll send you out a new switch. And I was like, cool man, you know, no arguments, no nothing. And he was gonna send that stuff out, and he doesn't know this yet, but I'm fixing to send him this video. What happened was, when I was swapping out these switches, the blanks, like a dummy, I mixed up the circuit boards. And I was sitting inside the house and I got to thinking, I was like, man, something's not right. Let me go check one more thing. So I pulled it back out. I pulled that circuit board out, and remember I was talking about the little marks? My marks didn't line up. So I swapped the circuit boards, came back out here, plugged it up, and bam. Just like that, it works like a charm. So, fourth gen Ram Electronics. The customer service speaks volumes about the business that he's running. Anytime that you can contact a business on a Sunday and you can ask questions about something that you possibly screwed up yourself, and they're willing to work with you on it and figure it out and do what they can, and no questions asked, he was going to send out another switch, that's freaking thumbs up, A+, triple A+. Man, you can't ask for something better than that. So, coming soon will be this guy right here and a power inverter. Hey, once again, 4th gen Ram Electronics. I think I'm saying it right. I will put links in it and everything. Hey, outstanding, outstanding, outstanding. I can't say enough about it. Anyways, I'm going to get off of here. Thanks for watching. If you need this upgrade or you need some other upgrades, and we're going to walk through the steps on that stuff that's coming, please hit him up and buy it from him. Perfect stuff. Thanks.